Hello and welcome to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Jenilee Peterson and we're going to be discussing Mary, Queen of Peace's messages, the Mother of Jesus, who has been appearing in Medjugorje, a little village in Bosnia-Herzegovina, since June the 24th, 1981 and still is today. Heaven is coming on earth. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Mirella. It's good to be back.
It's lovely to have you back here. So now we'll discuss Mary's message on December the 25th, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Our Lady said to everyone on earth, "Dear children, today I'm carrying my son Jesus to you, for him to give you his peace. Little children, without peace, you do not have a future or blessing. Therefore, return to prayer, because the fruit of prayer is joy and faith, without which you cannot live. Today's blessing, which we give you, carry to your families and enrich all those whom you meet, that they may feel the grace which you are receiving." Thank you for having responded to my call. So we'll start with the first sentence. Our Lady said, "Dear children, today I'm carrying my son Jesus to you, for him to give you his peace. Little children, without peace you do not have a future or blessing." I'll just leave it at that. Without peace you do not have a future or blessing.
Yeah.
So that's how powerful and important it is for all of us to get in peace, like within ourselves.
Yeah. And I think that peace definitely comes from God, especially in spending time with Jesus one-on-one. We can go to church on Sundays and we can be practicing our faith and everything. But I feel like that inner peace, the reason why people go on like meditation retreats or like these kind of things is to find peace, right? Mm-hmm. But all we need to do is just spend some of our alone time, personal time in prayer. And there's so much more inner peace that comes from that. Even if it's just a 15-minute rosary that you say in front of the altar at home, and involve your family in it as well. You'll find so much more peace within yourself and peace at home as well. I feel like because I've grown up with family rosary every day.
Wow,
yeah.
Beautiful.
So even when my grandparents were living with me, we all used to say the rosary together as a family, and there used to be so much of joy in the house, And so I realized, and then there was a phase that because of everyone's busy schedules, we weren't able to pray together, and we were just only able to go to like Mass on Sundays, which is great. Like we were still able to do that, but things started getting a bit difficult at home, and it wasn't as peaceful anymore, and my grandparents had left to go abroad at that time, and so there were times of challenges that we were going through as a family. But the moment that family prayer stopped, but when we had it going, there was a lot of peace. And so when Mother Mary says that you cannot live without this peace and joy and that prayer, I totally agree with that, because to have a good life, I feel like we should go back to our roots, which is like that prayer, that personal prayer, that one-on-one connection with God, communication and that conversation which keeps it going. That's how you build that relationship with Jesus, to have that personal prayer time.
Yeah, and also one of the visionaries, Mirella, she said, you can't have peace unless you have peace with Jesus.
Yes.
Like you just can't have it. There's no true peace unless it's the peace with Jesus.
Yeah.
So the other things are they're peaceful, maybe they keep you a little bit calm, but they're not really an inner, thorough, really good peace.
Yeah. And it's almost like when you don't have a connection with someone anymore, like someone who used to be your friend but isn't your friend anymore, just for the reason that you've lost contact with them. So it's the same analogy with Jesus. Like imagine you lose contact, like you stop communicating with Jesus one-on-one.
Yeah.
You don't have that, you don't feel that connection anymore. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't feel any connection with Jesus." That's only because, we're not putting in the time and effort to have that connection with him.
And maybe also they think it's overwhelming when they do put the time. Sometimes they might think it's overwhelming because they put the time and effort in and they get the answer and they get the results. And that's enough to keep them going for
a little bit, but then not for a long time. Yeah, exactly.
But you've got to keep it going. I mean, you can have joy all the time. I guess we're scared to be joyful all the time in case something bad happens. But we can have it all the time if we're in contact with Jesus all the time, like a best friend. You know?
Yes, absolutely. And God calls us to be joyful people.
That's it.
A joyful nation. In fact, in the Bible is written like, He has called us a royal priesthood and a holy nation, people set apart for His glory. So much more how joyful and peaceful we should be.
Yeah, exactly. So Our Lady said, therefore return to prayer because the fruit, there's the fruit. The fruit of prayer is joy and faith, without which you cannot live. The fruit of prayer is joy and faith, without which you cannot live. Powerful.
Like I said, in my life, I cannot imagine, because ever since my childhood, I've always had that prayer, family prayer, community prayer, Sunday mass, and so I can't imagine my life without it.
That's beautiful. It's so important to bring your children up in the faith, because then it holds them steadfast for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
so
very
you were brought up with the faith.
Yes,
and then now you're an adult on your own, and you've maintained it.
I've maintained it thanks to my upbringing, and also I've been able to use whatever talents or energy the Lord has given me to kind of take that to other people as well through my prayer groups and like organizing the prayer meetings and things like that. So
that's so beautiful. So you've been able to share it with others now.
Yes, praise God. Praise God. It's really been a good journey for me, like so far in terms of faith.
Because do you run a prayer group, and what sort of things are you doing now? I think you told us in the last show, but maybe new people are watching.
So I'm part of the Jesus Youth movement, which is all over the world, but also in Australia very actively. Jesus Youth Victoria, and we run youth prayer meetings in Melbourne. Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, well, we'll have to get ready now to go to a break.
Sure.
But we'll continue with this when we return. You've been watching Spirit of Life. I hope you're enjoying the program, and we'll see you again very shortly with more wonderful information for you. See you soon. Hello and welcome back to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich, and we're here with Jenilee Peterson, and we're discussing Mary's messages from Medjugorje. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Mirella.
So we'll continue with this message. Our Lady said, today's blessing, which we give you, carry to your families and enrich all those whom you meet, that they may feel the grace which you are receiving. Thank you for having responded to my call. So we need to live it first, and then be able to carry it to others. Be beaming with it.
Absolutely. Each one of us are called to be like disciples of Christ. Like even when Jesus commissioned his apostles to go out into the world and preach his message, each one of them became carriers of Jesus to the people of the world, and which made like Christianity the largest faith in the world, right? So each one of us are called to be his disciples. And which means the calling on each one of our lives is so great that we should be able to preach the gospel to whomever we meet, and if necessary, use words, which means through our lives' actions, we should be able to preach the message of Jesus, the good news of Jesus, and just, be able to live that faith life. Basically.
Exactly, and not to block him out. To really remember he's there, he's with you.
People should be able to see that, like, by your life, like, oh, this person is a follower of Christ. I heard a sermon a long time ago by a priest in India, and he was saying how, in our workplaces, especially because India is a majorly Hindu-dominated country, and Christians are a minority there, but you can always tell a Christian after you meet them and spend a little time with them. You can always tell a Christian apart from others. That's because people see that that peace that you bring into the room, that joy that you bring. And then there was a person who asked me once, like, oh, are you Christian? And I was like, yes, how do you know? And no, just the way that you spoke to other people and just the way that you were with these new people whom you just met, it was like with a lot of love and joy and peace you greeted them. So I could tell straight away that you were a follower of Christ, and I was like, wow, that's such a blessing. I mean, praise God, that I was able to do that. So each one of us are called to be carriers of Jesus's love, joy, and peace to others.
Yeah, my brother was just telling me the other day that happened to him. Someone came up and asked him and said, are you a Christian? Because first they asked him for help for something, but there was all these other people, and then they explained why they asked him, because they chose him because they thought he was a Christian. So, and we'll go with April the 25th, 2023 now. Our Lady said to everyone on earth, "Dear children, I'm calling all of you to be carriers of the peace and joy of the risen Jesus. For all those who are far from prayer, that the love of Jesus through your lives may transform them to a new life of conversion and holiness." Thank you for having responded to my call. So, dear children, I'm calling all of you to be carriers of the peace and joy of the risen Jesus for all those who are far from prayer.
Yeah.
Just stop it at that. Yeah.
So, what my takeaway or my input about that message is basically, especially there are a lot of people, who don't believe in God, and there are a lot of people who don't know Jesus at all. They might have been born into Christian or Catholic families, but they may not be practicing anymore, things like that. And they may not believe in things that are unseen, or supernatural things which God can do. But our duty as practicing Catholics or as people who have experienced the love of God in our lives is to pray for them, is to, if given a chance, be able to take them along with us for prayer, or help them experience Jesus in some small way that it might make a difference in their lives. My way of doing that was through, spending some time to volunteer, for example, like going to an old age home where, people feel lonely, where the children have left them probably, and they don't come to visit them. Go and spend Christmas with someone who's lonely, and who may not necessarily have a family, or going to an orphanage and spending time with the kids and singing and dancing with them. So those are the kind of things that I grew up doing. I was encouraged by my parents, my church community, people around me to do these kind of charitable activities, or just spending some time to do good, to do some good. And the best way to pray and intercede for people who do not know Jesus is to just do it as one family. So when a lot of people agree upon something on earth, it is agreed upon in heaven as well, and that's in the Bible. So I think we definitely need to pray.
Gathered in my name.
Yeah, exactly. And what Mother Mary is saying to us in this message is definitely to pray for these people, and through our life be able to make a difference in their life as well.
That's it. And then Our Lady, so I'll just read the first part again. "Dear children, I'm calling all of you to be carriers of the peace and joy of the risen Jesus, for all those who are far from prayer, that the love of Jesus through your lives may transform them to new life of conversion and holiness." Thank you for having responded to my call. So by you just living your will of God, like you just try to do the will of God in your life, you don't know how you're going to affect other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I remember I was doing something once, I won't go into detail, but and someone saw me, and they actually said it changed their life. Like they just saw, they didn't even know me, they just saw me, and they said it literally, they were crying when they told me. They said it changed their life, gave them hope, and then all these wonderful things happened as a result of it. And they went on to tell me. And I thought, gee, how would I wouldn't have even known. I was just going along about my day kind of thing. Yeah. But you just don't know how you're going to affect other people, do you?
It could be by just singing a song in church, like when you're part of a choir and you sing a touching song as a recessional or an entrance hymn, and a person's day is made, like their life is changed. Because my friends and I have been serving in different parishes for a while, like to sing for Sunday masses, like once a month. And we have had people coming up to us at the end of mass and said, that really was a beautiful song that you sang, and can you please give me the name of the song? It changed I was having a bad day, and it changed my perspective about this day now, and it's better now. So that's how we can affect people around us.
You just have no idea what the power of God working through each person does. Yeah. Well, it's been wonderful having you on the program. We have to go to a break now. You're watching Spirit of Life. I hope you're enjoying the program. We're about to go to a break, and we'll see you again very shortly. Hello and welcome back to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich. We're here with Jenilee Peterson and we're discussing Mary Queen of Peace's various messages from Medjugorje. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Mirella.
And now we'll start with the message from Medjugorje from Mary on December the 25th, 2020. This is a different one. There was 2 messages given on 2020, but this is another one. This one was given to Maria Pavlovich Linetti, not Yakov like the previous show. So Our Lady said, "Dear children, I'm carrying to you little Jesus who brings you peace, him who is the past, present and future of your existence." It's exciting. "Little children, do not permit for your faith and hope in a better future to be extinguished, because you are chosen to be witnesses of hope in every situation. That is why I'm here with Jesus, that he may bless you with his peace. Thank you for having responded to my call." It's funny when she says, you're chosen to be hope in every situation. Whenever I do that with people, they go, it's not going to end up like that. Like they think, like if they're all doom and gloom about the world, they'll say, "Oh, look, it's not going the way. It's all going to, really bad, really bad." I said, "No, but it's going to get better. Things are going to get better. Things are going to get good." And they're like, "Oh," but that's what you said to do.
Yes, exactly. Especially the first part of the message where she says, Jesus is your past, present, and future. It's also emphasizing, Jesus is Emmanuel, God with us. He's the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. So in our lives, Jesus has always been with us from the time we were born. He is with us right now, and he will be with us in the future. We just need to emphasize and just need to acknowledge his existence in our lives. And with the second half, I love how Mother Mary is telling us not to extinguish that faith and hope in a better future.
Absolutely.
Especially if things look bad at this moment, we don't have to despair, because brighter things are ahead, better things are ahead, and God will always give us, the plans that he has for us according to Jeremiah 29:11.
And more hope breeds more hope.
Yeah.
Like if you're positive, even like positive breeds more positive.
Yes.
Like it just attracts more positive. So you can actually change the world with being hopeful. Because it's not up to anyone else but God in the end. So if we're hopeful, we can just get more things happening,
Absolutely, 100%. And in the last part, she says that we are all called to be carriers of faith and his witnesses. So that struck a chord with me, because Jesus has given me so many opportunities to share my life story, my testimony with various people at various settings, like whether it's like a small room of 10 people, or whether it was a large room like in a church, where a mass was happening, and I was able to basically share my testimony at the end of the mass and tell people what the Lord has done for me in my life. And even coming here on this show and being able to share my message with people and what the Lord has done for me in my life, I think through whatever ways and means the Lord provides for us, whatever opportunities he gives to us, if we can glorify his name through our witness, through our testimony, there can be no greater acknowledgement of God's work in our lives.
That's beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah. So I love that line. Him who is the past, present and future of your existence.
Yeah.
That's such a strong, I haven't heard her say that, Our Lady say that before. So past, present and future, he's always been there. He's with us. Always.
Yes, absolutely. From the beginning until the end.
It's amazing, yeah. And then little children, do not permit your faith for a better future to be extinguished. So have the hope, you know?
Yeah, just be hopeful, be positive, be joyful.
Yeah. Well, she's in the message, you know, the most recent one, she was sort of talking about, you know, be joyful every day.
Yeah.
Like be joyful all the time.
In fact, I have been hearing a lot of different stories about the life of saints recently, and whether it was Saint Alfonso from India or Saint Mary MacKillop from here. Like in fact, Saint Francis Church is where she received her First Holy Communion in Melbourne City. So it was her feast day recently, and then they were the priests were talking about, like in the sermon, the amount of suffering that she went through. She was even basically she was excommunicated from the church as well, but she ended up becoming a saint. She did not despair. Throughout their sufferings, each and every saint have maintained that they did not despair. Like, you know, they were joyful, they were peaceful, they persevered in prayer, and they became saints today.
Yeah. And there's probably also saints that haven't been like canonized or recognized, like just everyday people that are always like loving and good and holy and doing good things.
Absolutely.
You know, we don't, not everyone just because they're in the book, you know, in the books, you know, they've had books written about them. You know, there's a lot of saints, you know, in everyday life you can just come across them.
Yeah, and each one of us are called to be saints as well.
That's it, yes, exactly.
And most recently, Blessed Carlo Acutis, who's, you know, the millennial saint.
Yeah.
Very exciting to know about his upcoming canonization. Yeah.
Do you know much about him? Did you want to say a little bit about him? Or like what he was being canonized as saint for?
Yeah, so there were 2 miracles that were attributed to his intercession. People who were really sick and on their deathbed recovered through his intercession. He was known for being very tech savvy with computers, but the main thing about him is the life that he led right from the time he was a child until he passed away. He used to go to daily mass. He used to go to all his sacraments, make regular confessions. He always lived to be a saint.
Yeah.
And when his mother spoke as well very fondly about him, about his life, she said how he was burning with a desire to take Jesus to the world through his knowledge of computers. So I wish he was still alive. You know, he would have been a really, really amazing source of like media, but he's becoming a saint nevertheless.
Wow. What nationality was he?
I'm not
Italian
too sure.
or-
I think he's Italian.
I thought it might be Italian. It was Carlo. What was his name?
Carlo Acutis.
Okay, well, people can look that up anyway. Yeah. All right, well, I think we've about come to nearly the end of the program. Is there any last words you want to leave the guests with before we finalise the show?
Speaking of saints, I think we all should aim to be, you know, saints someday. The Lord has called us to be saints. So as long as we live close to Jesus and do his will and ask for his will to be done in our lives, we can be saints.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the program, Jenilee.
Thank you for having me back once again.
It's wonderful. Well, hope you enjoyed the program. May God be with you, bless you. May you always feel Jesus' presence in your heart and all around you and feel that peace, that real peace. Bye for now.
Bring his joy.